Spoiler alert. There's no zombies. No superheroes. Pedro Pascal isn't.
I think it's time to finally declare it. Hollywood, at least woke Hollywood, or at least wokeness in Hollywood, has completely destroyed it. Back to back movies, superhero movies, that those that paid to see them generally felt like they were okay. The Fantastic Four, First Steps, and Superman will both lose hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, I know there are going to be a lot of people in the comments saying, I saw Fantastic Four, it was pretty good. I saw Superman, it was pretty good. I'm not here to dunk on these movies. I'm here to memorialize the end of the superhero blockbuster era. And it could have lasted so much longer if not for garbage, woke ideology, terrible writing, and lazy CGI. Hollywood destroyed America's interest in the superhero movie. Superhero movies are no different now than the endless string of Westerns that came out in the early days. Largely indistinguishable from another, recycling the same 5 actors and actresses, and America is simply tired of it. It's over. Leave a like on the video to spit on the grave. Now look, I'm torn about this because, I like a good superhero movie. It's not like I aged out of superhero movies suddenly. It's just I got tired of garbage. And while they kept feeding us garbage, they kept increasing the cost of that garbage. And when we didn't buy that garbage, they said that we were the problem. They said because I didn't want to pay money to see Woman Silver Surfer, which again, people say who saw the Fantastic Four that it was a fine movie. I had no interest in Lady Silver Surfer. It was my problem. When I didn't want to support James Gunn because of the disgusting things he said in the past, and I didn't want to pay to see Superman because I was too nervous about him feminizing him, it was my problem. Well, now Hollywood has a real problem where basically every big budget movie they're putting out is automatically losing $200 to $300 million. Critical Drinker reacted to Fantastic Four having an 80% drop from the first week. Now, people often talk about the cinematic drop from opening weekend to second weekend. Now, usually it is a big drop. Very rarely are there movies like Endgame where people are lining up to see the movie a second time and there's only like a 30% drop in the second week. It's not totally uncommon for even a good movie to drop 40 or 50%, but 80% is catastrophic. The Critical Drinker, who is, I would say, the most respected movie critic in this space, says it's time to accept that our culture has moved on from superheroes. There will always be a core audience, but the zeitgeist has shifted and the days of billion-dollar box office hauls are over. The only way to make them profitable now is to slash budgets by 50%. Not to toot my own horn, but this is something that I've been saying for months. It's not that these movies are necessarily bad. In fact, if you go back, I believe in my Superman movie, I talk about that. Superman is set to lose $300 million, and by everybody's review, it wasn't even a bad movie. So what are you going to do? People are just less inclined to line up for superhero slop. You had Superman. This movie should have been iconic, and nobody cared. There's a reason for that. And it's not because the movie is bad or the marketing is bad. It's like, oh, another James Gunn superhero movie. Can't wait for endless cringe jokes. Joke, emasculating men. Joke. Nobody wanted to see it. And again, it wasn't because the movie was bad. James came on and said it was an immigrant story, and that was enough to probably scare off $100 million domestically. Think I'm wrong? Okay, we could disagree. Once I heard that it was an immigrant story, I had zero interest in seeing it, even though it really wasn't. It was just like, I don't want to give this man my money anymore. And I think that's kind of the bigger picture here. yes, Fantastic Four was a movie that was never going to be a huge movie. Fantastic Four, I remember from my childhood. I loved Thing, but like the rest of the Fantastic Four, I mean, we're not talking about Spider-Man and Batman. If Superman can't break even, what in the hell were they thinking Fantastic Four was going to do? And then they gave it a massive $250 million budget with another $150 million for marketing, meaning that the movie was going to have to make $800 million just to break even. It had no chance. The Fantastic Four First Steps had a $200 million budget, not including marketing. You know, some analysts estimate that a film typically needs to gross 2 to 2.5 times its production budget to just break even. So in the most, how do I say this, forgiving way, because I don't know if that 2 to 2.5 includes marketing or not, but that means, you know, the movie needed to make $500 to $600 million just to break even. Let's look at the box office because it's done now. Right? It made just $40 million in the second weekend. I mean, the thing is, if we look at this, Fantastic Four craters by 66% in this weekend. Another website said 80%. So I'm not sure who's telling the truth. In fact, Variety itself said 80%. Right? Matt Walsh writes, the Fantastic Four are a really stretchy guy, a guy made of rocks, a guy who lights on fire, and a guy who does whatever she does. A girl who does whatever she does. These are literal characters that a 6-year-old would invent. You can't just keep making movies around these kinds of characters without people getting bored. That seems to finally be happening. Now, Matt Walsh I like Matt, but his hot takes on, you know, Marvel movies and pop culture and anime are garbage. I assume he knows this and it's a shtick he leans into, but he's not wrong here. The thing is, no, the characters aren't bad. People love these characters, but not enough to have a massive budget. Are you telling me that Disney, the company who ruined Star Wars, has a bad reputation among movie enjoyers? Again, I don't get it. It's a really good film, people say in the comments. What's wrong with the viewers? Who the heck is watching Superman instead of this masterpiece? Again, this is not... We have now reached the point of no return. You see, the Fantastic Four First Step stretches towards $370 million worldwide after a bigger than expected second weekend box office drop. The Fantastic Four has made nearly $370 million globally after a big box office drop in the second week. Again, according to Variety, analysts had expected the box office drop to be 55 to 60, but it ended up being 80. First Steps is an important release from Marvel as it kicks off Phase 6 of the MCU and comes after two box office disappointments, Black Captain America and Thunderbolts. It's worth noting that First Steps is on course to beat both films' box office tallies of $415 million and $382 million. Again, Black Captain America lost $200 million. I don't know what the budget was for Thunderbolts, but that almost certainly lost more than $100 million as well. I mean, Rob Liefeld, the co-creator of Marvel Comics Deadpool, who retired last year and has insisted he would no longer work with Marvel due to a series of perceived slights at the premiere of Deadpool and Wolverine, took to social media last week to offer his thoughts on why his 5 p.m. Tuesday IMAX screening of the Fantastic Four was next to empty. I could tell you why there is very little repeat business on this film, he said. It's impossibly dull and boring. The opinion goes against the consensus of the critics and IGN's Fantastic Four, which gave it a 7 out of 10. The Fantastic Four First Steps family dramedy, it only stops working when it tries to be too much of a superhero movie. Again, this is the end. Can superhero movies still exist? Maybe. But they're going to have to do a couple of things. They're going to have to release several really good superhero movies that lose money. Hear me out. They have to put out a bunch of movies that are actually good, that people hear about after the fact, and then they go watch them on streaming, and they say, oh, that was actually a good movie. Then they watch another one that lost $200 million at the box office, and like, oh, that was actually a good movie. And then they go to another one. Like, oh, that was actually a good movie. and then they'll come back to the box office. For a family of four to go to the movies is close to $100 where I live. And even though things are getting better in the economy, people just don't see the value anymore. It's not like movies are out there not making money. I'm 100% going to go see the movie Weapons this week. And I don't know if you're like this, but I am. I saw the trailer for Weapons. I saw who the director was. And I was like, I need to support this movie in the box office. And I even told in front of a stream of 25,000 people, I said, guys, if you like the trailer, go see this movie in the theater. Because that's how we tell Hollywood what we want. After I saw the movie Heretic, I was like, what a great, unique movie. I love it. Please go see that movie in the movie theaters. That's what Hollywood needs to do. Now, are they going to be willing to? Are they going to be able to keep politics out of it? I don't think so. As far as I've been told, there's nothing wrong with Fantastic Four and there's nothing wrong with Superman. There are some people that had some specific gripes about Superman that I saw, but I saw very little, complaining about Fantastic Four. Obviously, Rob Liefeld said it was boring, but that's not what I saw. And if I go look at Rotten Tomatoes, Ironheart, garbage. Here's Fantastic Four. Everyone was talking about how The Naked Gun was so good. 90% from critics, 76% from viewers. Superman, 83.91, nobody went. Fantastic Four, 87.92, nobody went. You know what was trending on Twitter over the weekend? The Naked Gun. I wonder if I look at what the budget was for that movie. I don't know if it's a remake or a continuation. I'm not totally sure. It grossed $30 million and it had a budget of $42 million. It will need to make $110 million worldwide to break even. Let's see. 2025 reboot. It generated $17 million at the box office, so this is going to lose money too. This is a movie that I'm assuming fans of the original. I wasn't going to that type of comedy doesn't really land with me anymore. So I was, I like Liam Neeson. It has a worldwide total of 30 million. So that movie's probably not even going to break even either. Hollywood does not know what to do. And they're going to have to endure putting out a bunch of garbage or a bunch of great movies that no one pays to see for a while. And I just don't know if they can. I don't think that they are in a position to do this anymore. I don't think that they're in the position to really survive. That's why they've been relying so deeply on the remake. That's the trouble. If you look at Critical Drinkers post, most people agree. They're here. The Giant Robot says they're now the equivalent of cowboy movies. This isn't a superhero movie problem. It's a Fantastic Four movie problem. They're the worst characters and they keep making movies. You can't make a good Fantastic Four movie. It's impossible. I mean, I think you can. Just you can't have one that needs to make $1 billion to break even. That's a reality. In the 50s, Westerns became common because it was good escapist setting for every conflict could be escalated and escalating weapons fights. By the 70s, people were tired of it. Superhero movies will follow the Western trend, not gone, but they can't exist just to be superhero movies. 100% agree. The superhero movie may not be completely over, but the lazy superhero movie absolutely is dead. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, please subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.